Today I'm going to be painting this little mountain scene in Procreate using my iPad and explaining what I'm doing as I go. This painting took me about 30 minutes and it's speeded up about 3 times, so it'll be about 10 minutes. So I'm already started. This is going a little bit fast, so stick around to the end and I'll do a little bit where I slow down and explain the brushes and settings and things. But my main focus here is to get in the big shapes with the right values. So that's the main concern here. Now, once you have one value, you can use that to make it all relative to the next. So what I mean by that is, if you look at the back mountain, it's kind of bluish, and then it needs to get darker as you come forward. Now, as you go into the background, everything kind of gets blue in landscapes. So whichever colors you pick, try to go on the blue side, and you can't go too much wrong. So once I have these big shapes in, it's a very important stage where most of your decisions are going to determine what the painting looks like. Detail won't really change a painting, so after the first block in, you need to be quite happy with it, because that's basically what it's going to be. So once I have the big shapes in, I usually work from back to front. Not every time, but I do this time. It usually just works out better. And the main concern after I have the big block in is to highlight, and you need to choose where the sun's coming from. So for me, this one is coming from the top right, and I'm using a fairly big brush to start with to get in some sun highlights. Now you also need to choose what color your highlights are going to be. Sometimes you can just make a lighter version than whatever's underneath, but that's quite boring. So for this painting, I've picked a orange pinky color. I'm not entirely sure what it is. And you'll notice you need to be consistent. So the light in the background needs to be the same color light in the foreground. But one thing you want to do is make it more saturated as you come forward. Now, you might notice the one I'm painting right now is not that saturated, but usually when I'm painting, I'm not too careful about the colors. I just want a rough idea, because I'll alter them later. So I like to paint fast, so I don't really concern myself about being accurate. If it's really off, I'll change it later. But really, I just want to rough in what the painting's kind of going to look like. For me, I'd like to see progress quickly, or I kind of get bored if I can't really see what's going on, or I get distracted. So I need to get the painting roughly looking kind of finished, fairly quickly. So this is about 3 minutes in, so it'll be about 10 minutes of real time. And you can already see what the painting is really going to be looking like at the end. With a bit of imagination, you can see it's not going to be that much different than what you see now. It'll just be, detail and finesse, which, don't get me wrong, is important, but it's not going to drastically change the painting. So I don't like working on an area for too long, because it'll mean you have to work on everything just as long. So I limit myself to seconds or rarely minutes just to work on one area, and then I'll move on. And so once I've got the bit of detail all the way through from the back to the front, I kind of do it all again. So I'll look at the back, see if it needs anything, come forward again, and the same concept. I'm just trying to add highlights. And now I'm doing bits of snow and bits of cracks and things like that. So I'll flip between the highlight color and the original base color to add some detail. And you can see I'm not that careful. Once you zoom out, you can't really see these details anyway. And obviously, I don't like to be too slow with any of this stuff either. So on the same layer, I'm adding some snow details. Again, I use the same brush, by the way, for everything. Usually when I do a painting, I'll pick a brush early on, or for several paintings, and I'll use the same one. I don't want the brush to get in my way. I don't want it to have too much about it, if that makes sense. I don't want it to have too much texture or anything, because then the paintings kind of all look similar. So I'll make the texture myself using the small brush. Okay, so again, I'm just tidying things up now. So what I'm really doing is looking for, messy bits and going back. And what I'm trying to do is, why I'm doing this is I just want a consistent look from back to front. And so I'm looking for anything that's kind of bothering me. And then I'll move on. But the concept's generally the same. I'm highlighting, and one thing you want to do with highlights, and I used to make this mistakes a lot, is if you want something brighter, don't make it lighter, make it more saturated. And so what I mean by that is I've highlighted the grass there, but you want to not pick, so if you color pick the green as the base color for the grass and you want to highlight, you might be tempted to make it a brighter version than the green, but you don't want to do that. You want to pick the color and shift it a little bit. So what that means is, for greens, you'll either go towards the yellow, oranges, or you'll go towards the blue. Now the blue is for shadows, so you'd stay away from that. So you probably shift it to the left, which is the yellow. But then you want to saturate it, so have more color in it. So rather than pushing your color towards the white, you want to push it more towards the pure color. Now you need to be careful there though, because if you get too saturated, it'll look unrealistic, because in real life things are not very saturated. It's quite rare that anything is that saturated, unless it's like in bright sun, and other things that are ultra saturated are man-made things, because we put crazy colors into things. But in natural world, you don't really get that many saturated colors. I mean, other than like flowers and things like that, but they're very small. So big land masses are quite desaturated and quite a lot of gray, but that's quite boring. So I like to oversaturate my colors on purpose, just because it looks more interesting. And I will later start messing around with these colors and saturate them more than what they are now. So one thing that happens when you paint with these brushes digitally, it will kind of make the colors muddy as you start merging them together. That's normal. There's not much you can do about that. So you can see I'm messing around with the colors now. If you stick around to the end, I'll show you the main tools I use and how I do that. It's fairly straightforward, but if you didn't know what tools you can use to do that, it can be a little bit confusing. So this is a bit fast, obviously. It's 3 times, so you can't really see what I'm doing. But I'll slow it down at the end for a few minutes and explain. There's only like 3 or 4 tools I use, but I couldn't probably paint like this without them, so they're very important. So this was just a little bit of detail I wanted to add. It seemed a little bit empty, so your eye was looking at this little mound and there was nothing there. I didn't really know what to put. It's kind of a sign or a cross or something. I don't really know what it is. I just wanted something to fill the space. I think it worked okay. I'm not too inventive with adding man-made things. I tend not to do them. The problem when you add man-made things is that they draw our eyes to them, and it becomes too important. And so then you have to be careful about what it is. Now sometimes I try to draw people, little people or something, and that's really difficult because they become the focus of the painting then, and that's not really my goal. So I'm still trying to work out how to blend people or animals or man-made things into landscapes. It's still a struggle for me, so I generally avoid it. So it's good to test it now and again. So even just a little thing like a lamppost or whatever it is, I don't even know what it is. It's good to try to see if it works, and then maybe I can try something a little bit more complicated next time. But now I'm really just looking around the painting, adding little atmospheric effects and making sure anything's not too messy. I mean, the painting only took 30 minutes, so it's obviously quite messy, and you could spend hours tidying everything up, but I like to paint fast and loose because that's just what I like to do. These are not going to be hung up on the wall or anything, so I'm just trying to have fun and speed and create things as quickly as possible. So 30 minutes to an hour is mainly all I ever do. But the other thing is, if you take 30 minutes and you do a complete painting, you learn a lot more than if you spent 4 hours on the exact same painting. I'm sure it'd look better and it'd look more professional and cleaner and all that kind of stuff, but you're not really going to learn much just tidying up areas constantly. So I'm forever learning doing these paintings, so the more I can do, the better. I've done literally hundreds of these, and I learn something every time, and the more I can get through, the more I learn. So, you know, for this one, I've painted quite a lot of landscapes recently, and nearly all of them have trees and all that kind of vegetation and all that kind of stuff, flowers, that kind of thing. But this one is more rock based, so I don't do that very often. And it was quite nice not painting trees for a change, because they got quite annoying sometimes, to be honest. And so now I'm just adding some effects. I can show you that again when I slow it down in a minute, how I get these nice smooth effects without really painting them. You can paint them, but it's easier not to. So there we go. That took about 30 minutes, and I think I'm done. Now stick around and I'll explain some of the tools I use, and hopefully that's useful. Okay, as I said earlier, I'm going to explain a few of my tools and settings. So first off, I am using a canvas which was just screen size of this iPad Pro 13, which is 2752 by 2064. Now, that's probably not big enough if you really want lots of detail. So if you're going crazy with detail and you want to spend hours on this, maybe make it a little bit bigger. Because the more detail you want the higher canvas, so you can get all that detail in. But because I don't do too much detail, I don't need a massive canvas. So the only brush I'm using for this painting is in the painting section. It's just the basic stuff that comes with Procreate and the flat brush. What's nice about this is it has built-in kind of opacity to it. So what I mean by that is if I press gently, you can barely see it, but if I hold it down hard, you can see it. So if I show you on white, so I can make this subtle gradient and then press it down, so you can get like nice shading. So that's a cool brush to use, and it's got like nice spiky edges. So on the new Pro pencil, so this is the Pro pencil, you can tilt as well, so it's pretty cool. Okay, another one I use a lot is alpha locking. So say I drew a big mountain here, oops, on a new layer, let's get rid of that one. So say I had a big mountain, it's not very dark. Say I had a mountain up there. Obviously I wouldn't actually do that. To make it easier to paint on top of it, if you press the layer, just tap it once and turn on alpha locking, and then say I want my highlights again, it just means that it sticks on the same color and doesn't go out to the edges, so that speeds you up quite a lot. That's another tool I use a lot. So another tool I use quite a lot is if I want to change the colors. So if we mess around with this layer, I go to this adjustments, and we've got hue, saturation, brightness. I use this pretty much all the time. If you look back at the video, you'll see it pop up quite a lot. So I'm always fiddling around with these colors, and you can do quite a lot of stuff here and change the colors completely. Now if you use the hue, it doesn't work great, because it does kind of weird stuff, but you can shift it a little bit. So 50% is what you start with. I don't know why it isn't 0, but so you can saturate the whole thing and make it lighter. Now you don't change these massively unless you get it really wrong, but so that's another one I use. And another thing you might have seen me use quickly is how to do smooth gradients. So I'll demonstrate if I make a big shape. So this is another tool I use, by the way. So the select tool, freehand, sorry, and then color fill means you can make these little shapes quickly, which just saves you time from kind of trying to make a shape like this. But then I'll use Gaussian blur a lot because basically you get shading for free. So you turn Gaussian blur on and you can go left and right to blur it. So what you can do with that is make like nice atmospheric effects. So say I want a yellow haze coming from the sun, for example. So I could just put like a blob here. Now it looks rubbish, right? But if I go to here, Gaussian blur, and blur it way out, and then you're not quite done. What you'd want to do then is go to your layer and press this N button, and then drop it down, because you don't want the effect to be that strong, but oops, you want it to be more subtle. But then you get these nice hazy effects like the sun is affecting things. But you didn't have to paint it, so it's only subtle, but they make quite a big difference. And this blue haze here, which looks funny in the layer there, but that's how I did these little subtle ones. So that's the main ones I use. I use some other tools, but maybe not in this one. I didn't. So I don't have many layers. I have, well, that's me just testing. I have a detail layer with lots of bits. There's the little whatever it is. These are the rocks. That's the main rock. So the main big sections, you want to keep them on separate layers, because one thing I could do is make the whole front more saturated or something. So you'd want them on your other layers. Okay, that's about it. I don't think there's much else I'm using at the moment. Okay, thanks for watching.